This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
And welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. My name is Tom Alexander, and today on the program, we have a traveling, professional, award-winning photographer. His name is Andrew Morell. He's based in the Washington, D.C. metro and travels from place to place and takes some of the most incredible photos I've ever seen. Andrew, welcome.
Thanks, Tom. Glad to be here. It's a privilege to talk to you and to talk about what it's like to travel, pretty much around the world and see how things can be done on the fly and on the more affordable side of things.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes you don't really get to really prepare a lot, do you? I mean, sometimes you'll get a call and, hey, can you be here in a day or can you be here in a couple of days? I'm guessing.
Yeah. There are times that I just need to sort of pick up and go, and I do have to tell you that photography, just on its very face, is a pretty expensive endeavor. Primarily because the equipment it's somewhat prohibitive at times. So I try to look to be as economical and affordable as I can in other parts of my life. So if I can avoid staying in hotels because hotels are expensive, if I can cut that cost, and if I can make my own food on the road, that's something that I've been really, really investigating over the last couple of years, because after a while, it's a drain on my wallet.
Yeah, no, I would imagine so. So kind of enter stage left, the possibility of an RV.
Exactly. Last night I was coming home from shooting a wedding, because I shoot, I would say about 75% weddings all over the country and the world, and I do a lot of nature photography and architecture and some street photography, but it's mostly those three. And I was on my way home last night, and I saw this RV. My trip last night was 2 hours, and I just thought, man, I need one now.
Yeah.
I'm tired,
right?
Cold. So I wanted to be able to pull over and just go back and rest, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
It's absolutely something I'm looking for.
So the idea then of, well, you said it, staying in hotels, it adds up. That's a cost you have to kind of put onto the customer, right? And so here with something that you can rent initially, I guess maybe before buying, you've got an RV, you've got a place to stay, and like you said, you can prepare your meals there and everything else. You're not taking on the cost of having to go to restaurants all the time, staying in hotels. You just you've got a comfortable bed on four wheels, or more than four, I guess.
Right, and it's. I'm trying to think of the word, but the incredible convenience of having everything I need: a studio, a room, a kitchen, at my fingertips. It's a dream.
Yeah.
So much so that it would be fascinating for me to give up living in a fixed address to just be able to travel the world or in this case, just travel the United States and shoot where I'm needed.
Yeah. Where have you shot? I mean, give us some ideas of things that you've done, and also tell folks where they can find your work and perhaps hire you.
Well, that's very kind of you. The travel work that I've done has been all for weddings, and so I've traveled to Costa Rica, I've traveled to Spain, I've traveled to Ireland, to Mexico, to Hawaii, and the longest trip was to Australia. And just before we got on this phone call, I was reading that I think it was Qantas Airlines has just set up a new 19-hour flight from the East Coast. But obviously, I can't take the RV on the high seas. I wish I could. But, when I travel to these locations, it would be an amazing cost saver to be able to, instead of go to the airport and rent a car, to just find an RV. But that hasn't happened just yet. But traveling around and having the real good nature and good fortune of being able to capture folks' weddings at these distant locations has been something that has attracted me for years and years and years. I've shot over 600 weddings at this particular point, and when I get to travel for work, most specifically in Costa Rica, I was able to take advantage of traveling the countryside there and shooting some amazing nature stuff on the shorelines, on the interior of the land at the volcano Arenal, with the potential of doing this in the future in other lands. There's a possibility of me traveling to Paris to shoot a wedding very soon, possibility of going to the interior of England to do a wedding pretty soon. It would be advantageous and comforting if I could do something like what we're talking about and have an RV at my disposal. But for now, I'm keeping it open as this more than real possibility as I work within the state.
We're speaking with Washington, D.C. metro-based photographer Andrew Morell. And Andrew, it's really interesting, sort of the whole, your journeys, and they seem to be quite diverse. And like I said earlier, I mean, people can hire you, of course, obviously. Where do they go to see your work?
Right now, my main website is my full name, andrewmorell.com.
That's 2 R's, 2 L's.
That's correct. So it's andrewmorell.com, and you can see, a good representative of my work. In the past couple of years, I've started taking awards from the Wedding Photojournalists Association. I approach weddings as an event and thusly try to minimize the amount of arranging that I do. So I just tell the story of the day. And, it's something that I love doing. It's my second big career, and I've been doing it for almost 15 years now. And I'm pretty fortunate to do what I love and to love what I do.
That's great.
It's been pretty exciting for me. It's been a real inspiration for me. I inspire myself, Tom, really. So I love what I do.
That's great. Now, that's awesome. Now, I know that in some of your more, let's say, rural journeys, you've happened upon a couple of see parks and even connected with some folks.
Have.
Yeah. So you see go ahead. You see the lifestyle, right? And you see what it's about and the community of it. So
one of the reasons you and I were talking, we are talking today, is because of a trip that I just took back in June. To be really honest, I've flown all these different places. I am not by any stretch a fan of air travel. I really do not like it. Mm-hmm. I could list 400 reasons, but I don't like being crammed in with people who are anxious. I don't like the cattle call. I don't like the seats. I don't like the discomfort. So this past June, I had the real honor of shooting a wedding of a friend in Johnson City, Texas, which is just outside of Austin and San Antonio. And so I decided to drive.
Yeah.
And the drive itself was illuminating and wonderful. And, I got to do all the things along the way that, listen to music and catch up on the music that I haven't been listening to in a while, listen to podcasts along the way. But each day I had to make a determination as to where I was going to stay. So I had, while I was driving, I'd have to pull over and take a look at, the hotel in the area where I, perhaps expected to be. And at that moment, I just decided to pull over, and I pulled over at this little intersection. So I forget the name of the town, but it was in Arkansas, and got out and talked to a bunch of RV people because as a wedding photographer, I'm sort of a natural born extrovert, so I don't mind talking to people. And I got a really great sense of not only the convenience and the the sort of near perfection of the way it's set up, but I definitely got a sense of the community of people who travel the countryside and live in their vehicle. And that really, really appealed to me. So, we got to talking, and I thought that, I don't know, my next road trip to Texas is not going to be in my Mini Cooper. It's going to be considerably larger.
Yeah, and look, there's plenty of RV places around the country where you can start off small, rent, see if you like it, and then of course if you love the lifestyle, you can grow from there. Literally, get a larger vehicle, perhaps purchase a vehicle. And, look, like anything, you have to see if the lifestyle is for you, because it is a dramatic shift from living inside four walls. It's a lot different. Sure. But I know that you're a traveling person, and we've had conversations before about that. And so, and I know you like to drive, because we talked about that as well. You enjoy the open road.
I very much. And not only do I also enjoy not just, highway driving, but I enjoy, taking some really off the beaten path kinds of things. When I finally got to my destination in Texas, the last 2 hours of driving were along these state roads, 2 lanes. And once I got into the hill country of Texas, I felt connected to where I was. And I know it's kind of hard to fully, it becomes a little bit more of a sort of a metaphysical kind of thing, but I felt connected to the land that I was about to spend 4 days shooting.
Yeah.
It's a gift to be able to commune in a way with the area that I'll be working in by actually communing in it instead of imagining it.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because we hear from a lot of people the reason they got into RVing was to kind of reconnect with something maybe from their past or something simpler, nature in general. Other people, of course, who share the same passion, the same lifestyle. But so many times it's, hey, I want to discover this. I want to really take the time. I don't want to have to go on a little tour and just, click a couple quick pictures or something, and then you're on to the next thing. You can really live it. With an RV, you can experience it. You can put down your roots there for a couple of days or whatever you need to do, and there you are. And I think a lot of people really enjoy doing that. And obviously, it's from what you've said, it's appealing to you too as a photographer and as just a person who enjoys seeing a lot of different things.
Exactly right. And I can imagine myself going places that I would never go.
Yeah.
If I had the ability to just to drive and then perhaps walk a little further and keep my home base, 100 yards behind me.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot more appealing than, renting a car and driving around and then having to go back to the hotel. And there's just something about your own space.
Yeah.
I mean, so right now where I'm living in the DC area, I oftentimes think about how amazing it would be if I could just take my bed from my bedroom, which is, it's mine, it's comfortable.
Right.
Known it so long. If I could just make that like a traveling part of my world.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It just sounds to me like that's my next step, is to make my bed, in fact, and to make my kitchen, in fact, and my living room, in fact, and my studio, in fact, part of taking around the country.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. It sounds like, maybe we're catching the genesis, if you will, of this transition for Andrew Morell. This is what we're going to see. The next time we talk, we'll be talking to you somewhere from an RV in the Badlands or something. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but we'd be interested to find out. Well, look, we really do appreciate your time today on the RV Advisor podcast. And one more time, let's let the folks know where they can find you and look into your work.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. It's andrewmorell.com. Just that simple. AndrewMorrell.com. And if you stop by, you don't have to be getting married to just drop me a line and say that you heard us on the show with Tom, and and we'll reach out and say hello and see if I'm coming to your neck of the woods next.
All right. Andrew Morell, thanks so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure, Tom. Thank you so much for having me.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the RV Advisor Podcast with Tom Alexander. This podcast is produced in association with Studio Alpha and Alexander Productions in Miami. Visit thervadvisor.com for more.